Hey, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Tuesday night Principal Chiropractic broadcast brought to you by DE and brought to you by Banner Brothers around the world. And pretty excited about our guest speaker tonight. We got the young gun from the Roses clan, because Danny Rose is going to be our guest speaker. So can't wait for that. I mean, the guy has been born and raised in DE, and their whole family is just DE folks. So I can't wait to hear his talk. Before we do, got a few things we need to bring up. One, 6 weeks from the next DE. I know we got the holidays coming up, but 6 weeks from right now, we're going to be in Clearwater Beach, Florida, at the beautiful Sheridan Sandy Key. We're probably going to be in the water a little bit. 2 weeks from today is the last you can get the hotel block. So make sure you get your hotel now. Those of you wanting to bring your family, we are going to have kids DE this time. So bring your whole family. That what a way to celebrate the end of the holidays is come to DE and get your year started out right. I guess they did. Dr. Drew sent a nice email to kind of update everybody on the DE. So check your emails. And next week, we're going to have the beautiful and intelligent and brilliant Jenna Quinton as our next speaker next week. So don't miss that. Again, I don't think I really need to introduce this young man because he's been coming to DE since probably before he was born. And, the Satilli family, the Roses family, the roots are deep in DE. And this young man, what I love about Danny is a lot of guys when they're young in school, they all get fired up and they come to DE, and then when they go out in their practices, they kind of forget what brought them up. But these guys, their crew just keeps coming and keeps growing. And he said he's been in practice 4 years, but he started with his dad, and last month he celebrated his first year anniversary in his own practice. So and life is good for him, and I'm going to let him explain the rest of his story, and let's give it up for Danny. Go for it, buddy.
All right. What's up, DE family? Andy, thank you for the intro. Thank you for asking me to do this. As he was talking, it had my brain racking, and it is crazy because this January will be my 31st year coming to DE. I don't remember a lot of the earlier ones, but it's awesome to just be a part of this group, be a part of this family, to know every 3 months, no matter what's going on, to come and see all of you guys and just be principled. So I want to get into everything. And Andy asked me to do this exactly a week ago, last Tuesday. So for the last 7 days, I've been doing nothing but listening to chiropractic podcasts, lots of Judson's podcast. I actually just found out Tim Warner's got a podcast too, which is absolutely phenomenal. Every day going to work, going to the office, every day coming home, just listening for some little tidbits of inspiration to figure out what the hell to talk about. So I spent all week coming up with a talk, and last night I gave it to my girlfriend, and she pretty much told me that it sucked. She told me to stop trying to go for what I think a DE talk needs to be. Stop trying to be a Judson. Stop trying to be an Andy, and just be yourself. So I scrapped it all. And the last couple times I did this a few years ago when I was in school, and then I did a Band of Brothers talk last year. And both times I had like 10 pages worth of notes. I had it meticulously written down, word for word, exactly what I was going to say. And now this is all I got. A little piece of waterproof note paper that I keep in the shower to write down my shower thoughts. And I hope it's good. I hope somebody gets some sort of value out of it. If you don't, I'm sorry for wasting your time, but there's a lot worse things that you could be doing on a Tuesday night. So as I was thinking of everything, and I kept thinking of every DE that I've been to, and no matter the speaker, no matter what they're saying, it all comes down to three things, and that's God, family, chiropractic. So I'm going to pretty much base my whole talk about that. And I want to start with God. Obviously, that's number one. And I used to make fun of all these professional athletes that would win a championship or do something great, and they would interview them, and then they would go on for 15 minutes. I want to thank God, my Lord and Savior. I couldn't do anything without him. And I always thought it was kind of ridiculous. I grew up very Catholic. I believe in God, but I'm like, why are we putting so much emphasis on that? And these last couple of years made me realize that without God, nothing's possible. And it doesn't need to be God. It could be any sort of higher faith, any sort of higher power. We just need something to balance us out, to be able to make sure no matter what profession we're in, we're serving, giving, loving, serving, doing everything that we need to be doing. And it actually is so crazy, something that happened today. I have a predominantly prenatal and pediatric practice. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but I pretty much only see kids and women. I very rarely get a single dude coming into the office to get his spine checked. It's probably been about 5 or 6 months since I've had a regular guy come in as a new patient that wasn't related to anybody that I was seeing. About 2 hours ago, I had a dude named Jacob come in, and it turns out he's a priest. And we talked about God. We talked about religion. He's a Roman Catholic priest. And I even told him, I'm like, dude, I was stressing out all day about what I was going to say. I never see guys. For some reason, God put you into my life, into the office. And since he came in, I've been pretty calm about talking, doing this. And it's just crazy things happen. And you just got to put everything in God's hands. With regards to God, I'm going to tell my whole kind of story. Not from the beginning, but from the beginning of practice. And like I was saying, without God, none of this is possible. And my family always likes to make fun of my grandma, because no matter what you tell her, God will provide. That's her response. Whether you bombed the test or you fell and hurt yourself or broke up with a boyfriend or girlfriend, God will provide. No matter what you tell her, that's just what she says. And my chiropractic journey since I graduated, I really do feel like God has been providing every step of the way. And obviously I've done the work and I busted my ass to get to where I am, but God was putting me in those positions to accept everything, every blessing that I was ready to accept. And I want to start by talking right when I graduated. So I graduated in April of 2019, and the whole plan was to go work for my dad, work with him, learn everything I needed to know in good old Bayonne, New Jersey. I was at his office for probably about a little over a year, let's say a year and a half. And it got to the point where I think our similarities clashed too much. And not to get too into the details behind everything, but let's just say we're much better friends now that we don't work together. So I left his office in the summer of 2020, all kinds of crazy stuff going on then. Almost immediately, we had this family friend who's a chiropractor, old school DE guy, Steve Vaccarella. We got to keep getting him to come back, but it's been a while. He had to get some knee surgery done. So he was looking for somebody to take over and cover his office for a couple months. So immediately I'm like, I need a job. Perfect opportunity. I know him. Let me jump in, make a little bit of money. So I worked for him for 2 months, August and September of 2020. And the plan was once he got back from a rehab, he was going to take over and my services were no longer needed. So that was all right. We had a plan. We were going to end at the end of September, and me and my girlfriend were going to take a trip. We were going out to Utah. We had a friend's wedding, and then we were going to do the national parks and everything. So we do that trip. I wasn't even thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking about where I was going to work, where I was going to be. And almost simultaneously, right when we get back, I think it was the day we got back, I see a post on a Facebook group. Is anybody in New Jersey looking for an associateship? I reach out to them. It turns out it was a guy named Devin Coughlin, not a DE guy, but very principled. He's down in South Jersey. And I met with him. I interviewed, had to make sure that we were a good fit, and it turns out we were. He took me under his wing for about 1.5 years, for almost 2 years. I learned everything from him. He is one of Glowacki's minions, so everything by the book, level up, scripts, doing everything how he does it, and it works. The guy's an absolute genius, and I still incorporate a ton of those procedures into my practice every day, but I did everything that I needed to do to get to where I am based on that. So I worked with him for about a little over, holy cow, almost 2 years. And the goal was always to, after that one, to go out, start my own office. So around beginning of 2022, that's when I'm like, all right, I have 8 more months left on my contract. I got to get the ball rolling, figure out what the next step is. So I spend the next 2 or 3 months with Julie, my girlfriend, driving around all of New Jersey, finding locations, finding where we wanted to live, where we wanted to set up shop. And we came across a town. It's called Summit, New Jersey, pretty affluent area, maybe like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes from the city. And I thought that was the goal. Beginning of April of that year, I start doing all the business crap, getting the LLCs, reaching out to realtors and everything. And then almost exactly 2 weeks after I get my LLC approved, a friend of mine from chiropractic school posts on the whatever Life University class of 2019 Facebook group, has anybody ever sold a practice? I don't know what to do. And his practice was about 10, maybe like 20 minutes away from Summit, where I was originally planning on opening up. So I reach out to him. We talk on the phone. He was having some family stuff going on. I'm not going to get into that, but him and his wife needed to move to her family in Virginia. So we talk numbers, we talk all that good stuff, and we both realize that it's a great fit. 3 months later, I'm in the office. We did like a 2-month transition phase. So I'm in the office. They're meeting me, all his current patients. And then 2 months later, they're gone. It's 100% mine. I can't tell you how freaked out I was that first month. I mean, I still get those thoughts every now and then about like, will people come in? What do I say? But that first month was absolutely brutal. I probably didn't sleep. I was stressed out all day, every day. I was probably, and I'm not going to say sick, I was probably fighting something more than I had ever in my entire life, because that stress was really showing. A year later, we're absolutely rocking. I doubled the practice. I think when I took over, it was at like 60 a week. Now we're consistently over 200, and it's the best freaking feeling in the world. In sheer DE fashion, with the money hum, I do want to talk about one thing that I was able to bless myself with after only being a year in practice. And it actually works out perfectly this week, because just last weekend, I went down and I bought my first new car. And that was a huge accomplishment for me. And every dollar I spent on that car, it's a dollar made from chiropractic, from loving, serving, and doing, just out of your own abundance. And I learned all of that from DE. I want to go back to what my grandma always talks about, and God will provide. God will provide, God will provide, God will provide. God will always provide, but you got to let him. And one Bible verse that I want to talk about, and I love this one. It's Matthew 7:7, and everybody has probably heard it before. The first line is, ask and you shall receive. Same thing as God will provide. Anything you want, God will give it to you. A lot of people don't know the second and third line in that. It's seek and you will find, and then knock and the door will be open for you. Not only do you have to ask, but you got to actually do the work, go seek, go knock. And I feel like I was put in an amazing position in every step of my journey, but I did the work, I busted my ass, and it got me to where I am now. And I really only have DE to thank. Smooth transition to the next part, family. I'm so blessed to have a family that not only believes in chiropractic and believes in the DE principle, but lives it. I'm going to take a couple minutes and talk about each person. Sorry if this is boring, but I want to talk about Julie first. My girlfriend, she's been to a ton of DEs. I'm sure anybody on here has seen her or met her, and she's absolutely phenomenal. She's my rock. We've been together for about 4 years. I was just talking to Andy before, and he asked if we were engaged. Engaged. I always like to say we're pre-engaged. She's pretty much my boss in the office. She runs all the behind the scenes stuff. She's my social media manager. She's my community outreach. I not a doubt in my mind that I couldn't do everything in the office if she wasn't there supporting me. She was even the one that, and when I saw these posts about the job and then the office going for sale on Facebook, she was the one that pushed me and gave me the courage to actually reach out, because I knew I wanted to do it, but I wasn't in the right mindset. She was like, this is what you need to do. Freaking do it. And look where we are now. I'll talk about my mom and dad, both amazing human beings, supportive about everything I do. I know their goal and their dream was for me to take over their office. I know it hasn't worked out that way, but I know they're super supportive, and no matter what I do. My sister, Bianca, she absolutely amazing human being. She's probably the most chiropractic, non-chiropractor I know. She recently had just quit her very, very high-paying New York PR job to open up her own PR business where she supports and makes, I don't know what the word is, publicizes holistic and wellness-based practices, whatever they may be. And then she actually just got asked to talk at LCW, League of Chiropractic Women event. And I didn't even know they had non-chiropractors do that. And that's just absolutely phenomenal. My younger brother, Gianluca, he just graduated college. He's still finding his way right now, but just last month he was able to get, I almost said rookie of the year, employee of the month at the restaurant he works at. So no matter what he's doing, he's always doing it principled to his best of his ability. And whether he knows it or not, he's using the DE principles. And I want to talk about my aunt and uncle too. Not many people could go to a DE and have 3 of their family members up on stage in some of the prime slots. And I'm just so blessed to be able to see my dad and uncle be regular speakers. And it doesn't end when they get off the stage. Like, we'll go over to Dean and Tony Ann's house for dinner, and Dean will say grace, say prayers, and somehow pull a 5-minute long DE talk as a prayer out of his ass. It's different every time. I don't know where he comes up with it, but the guy's got a way with words. My aunt as well, Tony Ann, and it's actually awesome. Little story right now. They take care of Julie's parents. They live really close by their office, so they've been getting adjusted for the last couple of years, and it's amazing because they do the education for me. So I don't have to talk chiropractic. I don't have to try to persuade my girlfriend's parents, hey, what I'm doing is real. It's gotten to the point where I'll be out to dinner with Julie and her parents, and her dad will be explaining subluxation to me and explaining to me that the body is self-healing. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell Aunt T and Dean are talking about, but God bless them because it's working. It's amazing. I want to talk about my DE family too. So this is a picture of us all at the last DE. Look at how good we look. So like Evan Sidoti, grew up with him. Our dads met at DE. Sidoti's have been a part of our life forever. He now practices 20 minutes away from me, and he's always there to get dinner, for a call. He's actually one of my best motivators to get Google reviews. He'll text me on Monday and be like, let's see who could get the most Google reviews this week. And it's always those weeks that we get like 10 or 15, and it's amazing. Anthony Lopez, the guy I probably said 5 words to throughout all of chiropractic school, now seeing him this often, one of my closest chiropractic friends. And then Alex, when I was living in Philly, when I was working in South Jersey, I lived 2 blocks away from his office. So I was always there, always learning. And to this day, anytime I'm having a bad day or anytime I don't want to talk to somebody, little bird in my head says, how would Alex talk to this person? How would Alex talk chiropractic and get this person excited to be there? And every time I do that, it's automatically a better freaking day. I think that's all I wanted to talk about with family. Yeah, so last part is chiropractic, the big one. And I want to talk a little bit about the office because very few people have actually, from DE, have actually seen it. We're located in Parsippany, New Jersey. That's probably about 20 minutes from where I grew up, about 30 miles west of New York City. And like I said before, we're predominantly pediatric and prenatal. It's even in the title. It's the Nest Family Pediatric and Prenatal Chiropractic. And it's amazing because anytime anybody within like a 30-mile radius Googles prenatal chiropractor, pediatric chiropractor, we are the only ones that show up. So I have people come in. I just had somebody come from the Bronx yesterday. It's like an hour drive. And that makes me feel so good to see that I'm not just getting people down the street that it's convenient, but people that specifically want to come see us and know that we could help. I did have some notes. Give me one second. Yeah, so I'm seeing mostly pregnant women, kids, and the best referral source. And the way that I think that I've been able to double this practice, not only in patient visits, but also financially in the last year, is with this. This is the best referral source that I have ever seen, I've ever used. Every single one of my patients after their day one gets a Wake Up Humans book. I can't tell you how many people or how many parents come in who have initially came in for their kid with colic or ear infections, that as I'm going over their reported findings on their day 2, say, hey, I read the book, or I started the book. Can I get checked too? Or can I get my spine checked? And that turns into mom, that turns into the other kids. And then usually it's dad coming in last. A lot of times he's got to get dragged. I'm sure you all know what that's like. But there's very few single people that come into our office. It's all families. It's a lot of kids. I absolutely love it. And there's no better feeling in the world to be adjusting a baby and have their atlas in your hands, to see the parent looking at me with full trust. And I'm going to tear up. It's just the best feeling in the world. And if you've done it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think, I want to talk about this. And back to DE, obviously everything's DE. We have been booming. We constantly been growing and growing every month. And I do always think to myself, like, what the hell am I doing to get people coming back? And to be honest, I don't know. And obviously you want to say I'm the best chiropractor in the world, but I don't think I'm the best adjuster in the world. I don't think I'm the best communicator in the world, but there's something I'm doing to get people coming back and trusting me. And the only thing I could come down with is that I'm telling them the truth. And nobody's told these people the truth before, so hearing it is such a breath of fresh air. And 100%, the only reason I say what I say is because I've heard it 1.5 million times from speakers at DE. And I always do like to make the joke that every DE speaker says the same stuff. And I couldn't be able to tell you exactly word for word what anybody said, but it's all about how you feel. And I take that into my practice. A lot of times the patients don't give a crap what I'm saying. They don't listen. They don't hear anything. but it's how they feel when I'm saying something. And whatever I'm giving off, I 100% owe to DE, and it's like nothing else out there. I know I'm preaching to the choir. So I want to finish with a couple stories about patients. And I've been in practice for a few years. I've been on my own for a year, and I haven't really had that absolutely drop jaw miracle where I cure a blind person or I make a quadriplegic walk. I've had a ton of smaller miracles, but I don't have any of those crazy ones to talk about. I want to talk about a couple patients. Last December, I had a kid come in. It was a mom and a dad that brought their baby. Baby was colicky, or honestly, I don't even remember what was wrong with him. But I go in before I get into the consultation room, before I could even get out a word. The dad, Frank, old school, maybe like 40-something-year-old Guinea Italian guy, says, "Listen, I don't want to be rude, but I'm not totally sold on what you're doing." I honest to God don't even remember what I said, but I remember I went into my normal exam. I went into my normal subluxation talk. I went into the 2 posters everybody's seen. Nerves go to this one, and the nerves innervate the organs, yada, yada, yada. I didn't change a single thing. After a couple weeks, and I'm always just talking chiropractic. I'm always talking principle. I'm always talking subluxation. After a couple weeks, Dad actually asked, Frank asks, "Hey, can me and my wife get checked too?" To this day, they're still great patients. They come at this point. I think they're coming every other week, but it's been a year, and the fact that, and I hate saying convince, the fact that I could motivate this old school Guinea Italian guy, and I'm Italian, I'm allowed to say that, to believe what I'm saying and take it as the truth is the best compliment that I could ever receive. And to this day, he's still one of my favorite patients. Like, I actually have to block a time, like a 5-10 minute slot after they come in, because I know he's going to want to talk to me. Yeah, that's freaking awesome. The next one I want to talk about, and I know my dad actually posted this picture on the Facebook group a few weeks ago. So I had a Jets player come in a few weeks ago, and Bryce Hall, I don't want to say he's not very good, but he's like the 3rd string cornerback. I've been taking care of his wife for a while. I never met the guy, but she drags him in. I adjust him. It was probably the coolest experience of my life. And I'm doing the exact same thing, giving my subluxation talk. And it's funny. I'm 31. I'm talking to this 24, 25-year-old kid, and I'm blushing. I'm trying to be professional, but it's the first time I've ever adjusted a pro athlete, and I'm freaking excited. So I'm checking him out, and it was an off day. So I was running the front desk. I was doing the scheduling and everything. I told him, "Listen, man, I hope this isn't unprofessional, but no charge for today, but I want a signed jersey." And he brings back, I was just expecting a signature. But then on the 7, you probably can't read that, he wrote, "To Dr. Dan, you are a gift to this world by God to bring healing and restoration through your hands." And I'm like, is that not a freaking DE saying? And this guy's probably just heard of chiropractic. He's probably never been around it, never even heard of DE. And what he just wrote is better than what was I going to charge him? $150 for the exam and adjustment. And now I have that to look up to on the wall every day, knowing that what we're doing is absolutely phenomenal and we're changing lives everywhere. I want to finish with one story. And this is probably the one that I'm finishing at the end, because I'm probably going to cry thinking about it, because this was the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. Back last January, so almost a year ago, my social media outreach person, Julie, signed us up to have a table at the Staples in our town, and just talk chiropractic, try to get patients in. This was early on. This was like 3 months in. So we weren't struggling for patients, but we needed more. So we go out. I dealt with probably about 3-4 hours of rejection. I tried to go up to people. I tried to talk chiropractic. Nobody was having it. They were there to do their shopping. They were there to get office supplies. Who gives a crap? But there was one woman that listened to me, and she was probably like 60 something years old. Her name is Victoria, and she had a really, really traumatic car accident. She was a little bit on the lower wealth scale, we'll say, so she couldn't afford good health care. She had a 17-year-old autistic son, and Julie yells at me sometimes for falling into people's stories too much, but this one really tugged at my heartstrings. She had a ton of health issues too. Like, she was constantly getting numbness and tingling down her arms. She couldn't stand for long periods of time. She was a nurse. She couldn't work. So I said, come to the office on Monday. We'll take some x-rays. We'll see what's going on. No charge. So 3 hours in a Staples, and the only patient that we got wasn't going to pay anything. So she comes in the next week. We do the x-rays. Really jacked up spine. And me being the gung, fired up chiropractor, I'm going to fix this woman. I tell her, come 3 times a week for the next 3 months. I put the little box on the wall for her. I put it by the front door. Whatever you could afford, throw it in there. I told her I'll never know. I told her a bunch of people do it. She was the only one. I knew what she paid. It was no more than like $5 or $10 every time she came in. She came consistently for those 3 months, and she did absolutely amazing. She was pretty much back to pre-car accident self. She was moving, she was working, she was able to run. All the numbness and tingling had gone away, and she disappeared. It happens. I didn't think twice about it. Obviously, I thought more about it, but I couldn't stay too attached to that. So she probably left in March. And then one July day, so months later, it was the end of the shift, and she shows up out of the blue, doesn't call or anything. She shows up, and she hands me this $2,000 check. Now, I went back and did the math about what she actually owed. I think it was only about probably just over $1,000. So she probably had about $1,200. I deposited this. I'm not just holding on to it. I did the pictures. But the fact that not only she valued what we were doing and valued the help that we gave her, but she overvalued it. And it was a really amazing moment. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. I remember I cried. I gave her a hug. And I actually framed it, and I keep it right next to my desk now. So anytime I'm hung up on insurance bullshit or thinking about patient finances or other calls that I got to make, I just look over, and this isn't a money thing. I'm not bragging. Like, I don't want to have a check on the wall. Like, oh, look at how much money I have, but it's there because that is really the epitome of lasting purpose for me. I served this woman expecting absolutely nothing in return, and she comes back and pays me more than, I think the chiropractic adjustment is invaluable, but more than my fees are. And again, I keep going back to it, but I have absolutely nothing to thank but God, family, and DE. And that's all I got for you tonight. I appreciate who's ever on. This was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, Andy, for thinking of me. And thanks.
Wow. Lot to unpack there, my man. Great talk. Very great talk. You know, you mentioned why they come back is your vibration, man. Is your vibration that has been handed down to you and instilled to you by your family and by your DE brothers and sisters, and you just resonate that. Everybody that's watching this call could hear it and feel it and experience it with you. So thank you so much. The Bible I read may be a little bit different, but it also said you must ask believing and you shall receive. Okay. And I think that belief is a big thing. Ask believing you shall receive, then knock on the doors, they will open, and seek you will find. And you got to take action. It's like everybody, gets about give, love, and serve, but the part is do. Give, love, and serve, and do. So you're doing it well, and I guarantee you guys like me have been in practice 34 years. Learned a lot tonight, and just so excited for you, brother. Great talk. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's awesome to hear. Thank you for having me.
You did great. Wonderful. So, hey, everybody, again, just as a reminder, 6 weeks from today, this week is DE. 3 weeks is Christmas. So make sure you make arrangements, get your hotel room so you and the whole family come down, share and spread love and just give love and serve and learn how to do what Danny's doing, rocking it and doubling his practice in less than a year. Awesome share, my brother. Love you.
All right.
Everybody have a good night. Love you.